This period also coincides with the Good Governance Week that we celebrate every year. Good governance is not merely about celebration once in a year. It's not about a few slogans. It must be integral to our lives and our culture. There are three elements in good governance. Mere talk and slogans are not sufficient. The first is we must understand what is governance. What is government about? Why did we, the human beings, create this artificial organization called government? What is the purpose of government? About 80 to 90% of the things that matter to us in our lives, they are decided by you and I in our homes and our families. The collective has no role in that. It's us, our work, our dreams, our ambitions, our decisions. They shape our lives. But there are 10 or 15% issues which cannot be decided by us individually. They cannot be taken care of by us individually as a family. They have to be done collectively. The water you get in your house, even if you pay for that, you cannot alone organize that water supply, or the stormwater drainage in your town, or the sewerage system to carry all the wastewater from your houses, or the pockmarked roads on the street, or the traffic. There are many, many things that you and I cannot do alone. You cannot have a school individually. It has to be collective. You cannot have healthcare and hospital individually. So we created this institution called government to meet the collective needs, to fulfill our collective needs which we cannot as individuals take care. And therefore we pay taxes and we elect those governments and we pay salaries to the employees who are supposed to serve us. Therefore the first element we should look at when we talk of good governance is, are we getting the services? What are the services should we get? There are three core areas that government should deliver. The first is rule of law. That means public order, law and order. Justice, rule of law. Law and order on the whole is reasonably good in this country. Largely thanks to our society, a strong society, a society that behaves responsibly most of the time. But justice is very weak in India. There are 36 million, 3.6 crore cases pending in courts, the largest number in the world. Some of the cases for decades. 2/3 of the cases in courts are criminal cases world over. Civil cases exceed criminal cases because as the economy progresses, society is modernized, industrialized, urbanized, there will be a lot more civil cases than criminal cases. But in India, 2/3 are criminal cases because people do not go to the courts. They don't dare to go to courts for civil disputes because they don't have faith in the court system. So either they swallow justice silently and suffer, or they pay a bribe, or they go to a gunda who settles disputes for a price, or they go to a politician to do things informally, extra constitutionally, extra judicially, extra legally. Then might becomes right. The weak and the poor will always be at the wrong end of the justice. That's not true justice. And ultimately we need rule of law. If the policemen are controlled by the government, if the crime investigation is entirely driven by the partisan government, if the system does not treat you and I, irrespective of caste, region, religion, party or wealth, does not treat us equally, if our rights are not protected no matter how weak and poor we are, then there is no justice, there is no rule of law. We don't have it. So this whole set of justice and rule of law, the police, the prosecution, and speedy and efficient justice without spending money. We are way behind what we should be. That is an important element of good governance. And then the basic amenities, I mentioned to you, drinking water, sewerage, water, stormwater drainage, and so on and so forth. The big infrastructure, the transport, communications, electricity. Even today, 24-hour power is a luxury for most cities of India, let alone villages. Whereas all worthwhile countries, even 50, 60 years ago, there was 24-hour power available to everybody. Even 75 years after independence, if we get power reasonably assured about 18, 19 hours in a day, we are grateful, we are thankful. If you take the basic infrastructure and public services out of the top 50 countries in the world, in terms of GDP, the largest countries, the significant countries, India ranks in the bottom 5 on every single indicator. Every single indicator. And do you know which are the countries in our company? Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nigeria. They form part of this last 5 on every single issue. That's not the company we should keep. We deserve more. We can do better. That's not good governance. That's talk. So we need real good governance in terms of this. And education and healthcare. Our kids, by global standards, are at the rock bottom. Out of the 74 entities and countries where the educational standards of 15-year-olds were surveyed, Indians stood second from bottom. Second from bottom. 73rd. A country called Kyrgyzstan came last, and therefore we narrowly missed the last rank. In the 8th grade, 25% of our children in school cannot read even a second grade level passage. 1/3 of the kids in 8th grade cannot do a simple subtraction, 2-digit subtraction. Almost 2/3 of the kids in 8th grade cannot do a simple division, let alone knowing when to divide, why to divide, how to do. That's a different matter. Even the operation they are not able to do. Between 14 and 18, 40 to 50% of children cannot look at a watch and read time. They cannot give us the hour and the minute. About 80% can tell us the hour, but only 50% are able to tell us the hour and minute between 14 and 18 in 2020, 2021. How can we call it education? Healthcare. We are among the worst in the world. About 7.5 lakh children are dying below 5 years of age every year. 2,500 children a day almost. Almost all are preventable deaths, unnecessary deaths. 6 crore people are becoming poor in India every year because of lack of health care. 6 crore people, a population equal to Britain. If we improve health care in 10 years' time, even if we do nothing else, India will no longer be poor. These are the basic things. Public order, justice, rule of law, basic communities, infrastructure, quality education, quality health care. Only when we can give them to all people of India, irrespective of birth, only then can there be good governance. Only then can people transcend the barriers of caste. Only then will every child born in this country have an opportunity irrespective of caste, parental wealth, education, money. Until that time, we simply don't have good governance. And there's more to good governance. The freedom we guaranteed under the Constitution must be real and meaningful. Our freedom is mostly vote and shout freedom. Most of our freedoms are abridged because of the chaos, because you don't respect each other's freedom. My freedom is your responsibility. Your freedom is my responsibility. You cannot have daily rasta rocos and buns and violence at the drop of a hat and then say that there is freedom. You cannot have highly centralized government where most of the power is concentrated with the Prime Minister, Chief Minister and the Collector, and people are helpless. You cannot force people to pay a bribe every day for basic day-to-day services which they are entitled to get and then say there is freedom. Every year about 60% of our households, they are forced to pay a bribe for a service they are entitled to get. They are not asking for a favor from the government. There is no accountability. So the second set is really enhancing the freedom and improving services and ensuring accountability and decentralizing power. And finally, our politics. Just because you have a vote, just because there are regular elections, we cannot call it good governance. Our political parties function as private companies, private estates. There is no internal democracy. Merit does not rise. Competence does not prevail. Integrity is not honored. A by-election held in the state of Telangana, one assembly by-election in the state of Telangana, it cost more than the total expenditure in the parliamentary election in Britain for the two major parties together. Where is Britain and the whole parliamentary election in the country and both the parties' expenditure? Where is one tiny assembly constituency in one small state in a desperately poor country called India? We need to change our electoral system. We need to transform our political parties. We need to make honesty and competence rise in public life. We need to decentralize power. These three fundamentals, what the government ought to be doing, what it should deliver, overcoming those failures, and we can do it. We have the technology, we have the resources, we have the ability. And two, making the government accountable and delivering the services effectively, and enlarging our freedom truly. And finally, transforming our politics. Only when we do these three things, at least in the next decade, already we are late. We are now in the 75th year of India's independence. Next year we are going to celebrate the 75th anniversary. We need to do a lot better, a lot more, a lot faster. In the next 5 to 10 years, we must transform all these very swiftly. All these are easily achievable. If only there is political will, if only the people understand and come together. You may have all differences, but on this collective, the government is to meet our collective needs, what you and I cannot do individually in our homes, as families, as individuals. We need the government, a collective entity to take care, because no matter how great, how good we are, there are things which we cannot do individually. That's what the governance is about. Unless that part is taken care of, no matter who you are, where I am, all our lives are affected by bad governance. Our economy is undermined, our growth is stunted, our society becomes chaotic, our lives become very messy and stressful, our society becomes increasingly unlivable. We deserve more. We can do better. And that's what true good governance is. And I hope occasions like good governance celebrations will actually make us look at what needs to be done and make us focus on the key outcomes in the country and systematically pursue those goals. We can do it. None of this is beyond us. Wherever we set our minds to things, we are doing remarkable things. Status quo is simply not acceptable. Status quo is simply not inevitable. We can and we must change these things, and I hope, for the sake of the younger generation, to allow them to fulfill their aspirations, their dreams, to live lives of dignity and opportunity, we will truly transform our governance institutions and ensure good governance instead of merely giving slogans and speeches. I wish you all a happy new year. Wish you all the best. Thank you.